You're looking at tomorrow, the people who will be running our unwieldy, complicated, fascinating planet, coping with challenges we already know about, and some we've never even thought of. These particular children are girls. Will their lives be different from their mothers' lives? The role of women everywhere is beginning to change. Will these girls be prepared to change it for the better? These are girls growing up with differing expectations, different religions, in different cultures. Africa, Northern Europe, South America, India. What do they have in common? Along with girls from almost 100 different countries, they are members of the same youth organization, Girl Guides and Girl Scouts. The question might be, why? What is there about this movement that attracts girls from such astonishingly different backgrounds? And what is the place of an organization for girls in the world today? Delegates to the World Conference of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts gather periodically to ponder such questions and to agree to agree.
Espagne, oui. La Tanzanie, oui. Thailand, oui.
Delegates come from every part of the world, each place with its own values, attitudes, each with vastly different resources, different backgrounds, different beliefs. And each part of the world has its own ideas about the role of women and of girls. What do these women, then, find to agree on?
How to explain
As new member countries join the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts, what is it they have agreed to? They agree that the Girl Guide, Girl Scout movement, wherever it may be, is dedicated to helping girls develop their potential. The movement is non-religious, non-political, yet they're convinced that it promotes spiritual values and educates young people for active citizenship. They say it's a sisterhood, crossing barriers of race, creed, prejudice, that it can make a difference in the kind of women our children will become. What makes them think so? India. For many of its almost 700 million people, life has hardly changed over the centuries. Still, today, along with the ancient ways, the poverty, the overpopulation, a groundswell of change is beginning to be felt. Among the things that are beginning to change is the status of women. There's an old Hindu saying, a woman is made to obey at every stage of her existence. How do the Guides of India see their role? We're in Mangalore, about 500 miles south of Bombay, at the edge of the Arabian Sea. Fishermen live precariously by each day's catch. For the fishermen's wives, something new has entered their lives. They are discovering that even they might learn to read and write.
ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹೆಸರೇನು ಪೂವಮ್ಮ ಪೂವಮ್ಮ ನಿಮಗೆ ಬರೆಯಕ್ಕೆ ಬರುತ್ತಾ ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಪೂಜಿ ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಇವಾಗ ಬರೆಯಬೇಕಾ ಪೂವಮ್ಮ ಅಂತ ಹೆಸರು ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ತೇನೆ ನೀವು ಇವಾಗ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬೋರ್ಡಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀರಿ ನಾನು ಹೇಗೆ ಬರೀತೀನೋ ಹಾಗೇ ನೀವು ಬರಿಬೇಕು ಆಗುತ್ತಾ ನಿಮಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ತಳಗಡೆ
The writing they're learning for the first time is Sanskrit, one of the oldest living alphabets in the world. The guides doing the teaching come from small villages themselves. This is part of their training by the Indian Girl Guide Association, to go back to their homes and help women improve their condition. So along with the reading and writing, they teach the principles of guiding as well. And for the women, it's a beginning, an opening to the world they've never known. This is the Muslim section of the city. The people are urged to bring their babies for immunization. The immunization children everywhere require against diphtheria, whooping cough, tetanus. Service rangers join the doctors. There is need for someone to hold and comfort the babies. There are records to be kept of each shot for every child. The people of the quarter see and think about what it is possible for young women to do. From the time they join the guide movement, girls are taught to look for ways to help others. These others are called Harijans. Guides come often to this Harijan village. They get the mothers used to the idea of daily cleanliness, the use of soap. Traditionally, Harijans have the least education, the least opportunity, hold the least desirable jobs. But India is trying to change this tradition. So the guides come. To help, yes, but mainly to show the people they are not excluded. It might be called another kind of sisterhood. The opposite end of the world, in almost every sense. This is Finnish Lapland, 200 miles north of the Arctic Circle. And yes, there are girl guides here, too. This little group has chosen to hike across the wilderness, far from roads and towns and people, on their own for the better part of a week. Guiding is different here, different as the country itself is different. Finland is a small country, less than 5 million people. Poised somewhat uneasily between the east, Russia is a next-door neighbor, and the west, Finland is almost fiercely patriotic. It is industrialized, prosperous, and by most definitions, a welfare state. The state takes care of the sick, the old. The state sees to housing and to education. There is little need or desire for volunteer service to others. In a country like this, girl guiding meets other needs. Right from the earliest years, children learn how to handle themselves in the out-of-doors.
Lingaris. Och så finns det här blodrot.
It might begin like this, becoming familiar with the natural world around them.
Och mossa. Ja. Och barkgräs.
There are about 700 Sea Scouts here, camping at Lake Saimaa in eastern Finland, not far from the Russian border. Girls and boys often share activities. As one leader said, girls soon learn that boys are not automatically the leaders, and the boys learn that too. Finland is a watery land where it's almost a matter of life and death to learn seamanship early.
Nyt se kääntyy näin. Ja toinen kääntyy näin. Siis tuuli menee niinku tän suuntaisesti. Eli se ei ota millään muulla vastaa tuulta kuin tällä.
Sea Scouts must know how to row and swim. They must know first aid. Beginners are taught the rudiments of sailing. Finns consider this experience a kind of education for life because it demands self-reliance, discipline. As they gain experience, they learn to cope with tricky winds and currents, making decisions, gaining confidence in themselves. Skilled sailors are made, not born. You know your job, work as a member of a team, take on responsibility for others, as this 12-year-old girl is learning. It's a way of growing up in guiding and scouting in Finland. It's the same lesson our hikers in Lapland are learning. Their challenge? to hike 100 kilometers, 60 miles, by compass and map. Tuoma, the assistant leader, Anna, the group leader, both in their early 20s. Meku, 16 years old, and Ripa, 14. They've all had a lot of training. They've all volunteered for this trek. Six days and nights camping out in the cold, cooking their own meals.
Oli se vain sama, että saatiin näin hyvää ilmakyydellä. Satanut niin paljon.
Joo.
Parempi se joskus
Vähän
näinkin.
vaihtelee näin sääteistä.
All their supplies, their food and clothing are carried on their backs. The rucksacks are about half the weight of the hiker. An adventure, yes. But to them, it's more than that. There's a special Finnish word for what they're really about. The word is sisu, and they describe it as going through the gray rock. You do the impossible. Can I find the strength to fulfill the task that seems too big for me? Can I climb the mountain that seems too high? Asunción is the capital of Paraguay. Tucked in between Brazil, Argentina, and Bolivia, Paraguay is landlocked in the heart of South America. Although slightly larger than Finland, Paraguay has only about half the population. It is not industrialized. It is not a welfare state. And although legally everyone is equal, in this society the men are more equal than the women. Yet there is change in the air here, too. Meet Sister Limpia, Sister Clean as the children call her. Social worker, sister of the Dominican order, secondary school teacher, graduate student in psychology, qualified chemist, and Girl Scout leader. What are her Girl Scouts doing? Inspecting children's heads for lice and treating them for skin diseases. Every week, these Girl Scouts set up a hygiene clinic to help their neighbors. Sister Limpia, once a Girl Scout herself, started this troop among girls in the Barrio Republicana, one of Asunción's worst slums. Some people appreciate the effort more than others. The Girl Scouts themselves are used to living with the poor and the dirty, and they accept it. But as a way of life, they intend to change. Most of the Girl Scouts in Paraguay are from poor or working-class families. They're used to helping each other. But it doesn't just happen. It takes training. Like these girls learning how to help the blind.
¿Cómo harían para ayudar a esa persona que está en la calle?
Yo le agarraría del brazo y le llevaría.
Claro, esa es la manera de ayudarlo a cruzar la calle. Y generalmente cuando sale uno así de paseo con una persona.
Classes are held at Santa Lucia, the Asunción School for the Blind. The Girl Scouts help in several ways. The school has very little money, little way of providing the kind of experiences sighted children take for granted. A birthday remembered becomes very special for children like these, living far from home and family. The zoo is a favorite place for trips together. What makes that sound? Is it feathered or furred? What size? What color is it? The Girl Scouts provide the answers. It's easier for younger children, it seems, to get along with handicapped children, and vice versa. Easy to be friends, to trust one another. Out in the village of San Lorenzo, Girl Scouts are taught about another kind of disabled child. They are instructed in methods of teaching deaf children speech. The Institute for the Deaf and Dumb had limited resources for working with their pupils. The local Girl Scout troop decided to adopt them. Again, it's been found that the afflicted child has more trust in a teacher her own age than in an adult.
¿Cómo se llama este?
Is the program successful? By the time they reach secondary school, they can talk fluently with others. The program caught the attention of the government, and recently the Ministry of Health and Education awarded the school permanent funding. But who is to say where success really lies? With the handicapped? Or with the girls who have reached out to them?
¿Qué grado haces?
We're in West Africa, in Upper Volta, a small country, a democracy, and one of the poorest places in the world. There are few roads, few doctors, few schools. The people keep a little livestock and scrape a bare living out of the dry land. In Upper Volta, almost all of the people live in rural areas like this. About 6 million people, speaking 50 different languages. The lives of most women are confined to hard work in the home and in the fields. What meaning can girl guiding have here? Ground nuts are sown after the third rain. These guides have their own common field. Some of them walked as much as 10 miles from their separate villages to join their guide sisters in the planting. Over the months, the girls meet 3 or 4 times to cultivate the crop. Ground nuts, sometimes called peanuts, can be sold. The greens will be saved for the cattle. Weaving earns money too. The sisters at the nearby mission provided the training. The girls themselves create the designs. As one girl learns, she teaches another. Once learned, it's a skill they can use at home, adding much needed income for their families all through their lives. Still, parents don't always want their daughters to be guides. Mothers don't like to lose their services. But seeing guiding in action has changed many minds. For instance, in order to become full-fledged guides, the girls must learn first aid under a qualified trainer. Children everywhere get scrapes and cuts, but who is there in the village to take care of them? Where doctors and hospitals are almost unknown, the practice of first aid takes on an unusual importance. Those who can heal gain stature in the village and in their families. Girl guides and Girl Scouts everywhere have a tradition of doing good deeds. Here, it's helping the overworked women of the village. For girls brought up to do what they're told to do, something new is happening. They're learning to take initiative, responsibility, and it changes their attitude towards themselves as people and as girls. As their leader said, they used to expect much of others. Now they expect it of themselves. So the harvest they gather is sweet. They've accomplished something worthwhile on their own. As the guides see themselves differently, so they see their own culture anew. The people are forgetting the old dances. The guides came up with the idea of preserving them. Where girls aren't encouraged to think, where they don't even go to school, coming up with an idea is a new idea in itself. It's a worldwide sisterhood, they say, helping girls develop their potential, making a difference in the kind of women they will become. In a world of change, they offer a world of promise.
människan och mänskligheten i det att jag söker förverkliga scouterna. Documenteros y vos interventeapi, nyalejala
Aki, apa John. Sabashne otvoltat gidwanya.
On my honor, I promise that I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to help other people at all times and to obey the guide law.
And I welcome you in this great sisterhood of guides.
Helping girls develop their potential. The movement is non-religious, non-political, yet they're convinced that it promotes spiritual values and educates young people for active citizenship. They say it's a sisterhood, crossing barriers of race, creed, prejudice, that it can make a difference in the kind of women our children will become. What makes them think so? The role of women everywhere is beginning to change. Will these girls be prepared to change it for the better? These are girls growing up with differing expectations, different religions, in different cultures. Africa, Northern Europe, South America, India. What do they have in common? Along with girls from almost 100 different countries, they are members of the same youth organization, Girl Guides and Girl Scouts. The question might be, why? What is... You're looking at tomorrow, the people who will be running our unwieldy, complicated, fascinating planet, coping with challenges we already know about, and some we've never even thought of. These particular children are girls. Will their lives be different from their mothers' lives? What is there about this movement that attracts girls from such astonishingly different backgrounds? And what is the place of an organization for girls in the world today? Delegates to the World Conference of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts gather periodically to ponder such questions and to agree to agree.
Espagne, oui. La Tanzanie, oui. Thailand, oui.
Delegates come from every part of the world, each place with its own values, attitudes, each with vastly different resources, different backgrounds, different beliefs. And each part of the world has its own ideas about the role of women and of girls. What do these women, then, find to agree on?
How to explain
As new member countries join the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts, what is it they have agreed to? They agree that the Girl Guide, Girl Scout movement, wherever it may be, is dedicated to